The channel is no stranger to flat screen games, and in particular, flat screen Warhammer games. We've covered Boltgun, we've covered Darktide, we're going to cover Space Marine later this year because Space Marine 2 looks so good. But today, we're jumping into Darktide's new update because I want to talk about it because this game gets an update once in a blue moon. One, because it seems just the update process takes a long time, and two, because each time an update comes out, they have some of the most polished and detailed maps and weapons that I have ever seen, along with some cosmetics that are very cool. Before we talk about Darktide's new update though, I want to talk about a different co-op shooter game. And before we get too convoluted, I just want to touch on it quickly. This is Starship Troopers Extermination, another game we've covered on the channel in the past, and it just got a new update the other day that added so that when you kill bugs, they stay there forever. The bodies litter the battlefield just like they do in the Starship Troopers movie. They no longer despawn with no hit to performance, which is absolutely ridiculous. These guys are complete wizards, and it really fits in the theme of the co-op shooter genre for today's video, because Extermination is shaping up to a really good one before its October launch on consoles. So if you do want to pick it up on Xbox or on PS5, that is later this year. But these bug bodies stay there now. You have massive expansive battles that you can see where bug bodies litter where you've had your firefights, and they actually are objects, so you walk over them, the bugs will use them to scale walls that you build. It's really cool, and you can destroy them by blowing them up with explosives, which is just so sick. The amount of physics going on here is nuts, and it's been a really cool update to play around with so far. Anyway, my little rant about Starship Troopers over, because I don't want to split this video into two videos, because there isn't enough really to talk about per game. That's my Extermination rant over, but let's talk about Darktide. So, Fat Shark finally came out with a new update, adding an incredibly satisfying new weapon, the bolt pistol. This is what we'll cover first because, my lord, these reload animations and sounds are crispy as hell, and the damage output of this thing is so good. If you aren't familiar, Darktide takes place in the Warhammer 40k universe, a very grim, dark universe with tons of different weapons that are absolutely phenomenally designed and really creative with how they work. And the bolter is one of the main ones, which is already in the game, but the bolt pistol is its smaller counterpart used as a secondary weapon by the Space Marines. But since you're not playing as a Space Marine in Darktide, you're playing as an Imperial Grunt, essentially, a normal-sized human, these oversized weapons have a massive recoil when shot with one hand and have slightly less massive recoil when shot with two, but still pack a lot of punch and kick. The technical teams have done an absolutely incredible job, and watching enemies fly to absolute pieces when getting hit by this weapon is so damn satisfying. There's just something about Darktide's reloads in particular that are so crunchy and real feeling compared to some other recent games which have felt a little floaty, and that added grit of Warhammer really just sells being in the universe, and I love every second that I spend in this game. But that's not the only new thing in the update. There's also new shop cosmetics that are overpriced as hell, as all shop cosmetics are, but they are probably some of the best the game has ever made. I'm still in love with my Death Court of Krieg armor. I will never take it off with my veteran character, but the new armor does look sick, and one of the players that I was playing with did go ahead and buy it, and yes, in game it looks absolutely lovely. They are wonderfully designed, and I will always support cosmetics that stay true to the feeling and the art style and the universe of what they're from, which luckily all of Darktides do, but these just absolutely chef's kiss fit it perfectly. Along with this though is a whole brand new mission, and this one actually took a little longer than Darktide missions usually take. For each of the mission expansions that have come out, they've all kind of taken place in a different area. You know that in this point in the Darktide lifecycle, you're going to come in and whatever mission you pick will have a distinct feel to it and a distinct area, and it's the same here. We're in a frost-covered part of the Warhammer universe, and the mission parameters reflect that, with you having to break ice on big machines to get them working again. But the environmental artists here have just blown me away time after time. It's no different here. Every single part of the map is so exquisitely detailed. Every single corridor that you go past is packed full of props and assets that, because of the nature of Darktide's design, where it's not completely linear, you can take multiple paths to traverse through the level, and there are different offshoots that you can explore for loot. You could completely miss some of this highly detailed environmental work, but that's the genius of it. Because it's there off to the side and you can easily overlook it, it makes it feel like you're in a real living world rather than a fake film set, for example, like some other more linear co-op shooters feel like. Darktide is restrictive and directional in its level design, but because of its visual direction and its design direction, it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like you're boxed in something not real. which I think is a very hard thing to pull off, very resource intensive, but it's one of the only games that pulls it off every time they try it, and absolutely immerses you into the world. We tackled this mission at level 3, and it was a fair challenge, but a fun one, and it took a little longer than the other Darktide levels that have come out in the past, which is much appreciated. The more content and time, the better, and it's always an absolute blast playing through them and extracting just in the nick of time. Anyway, that's all I've got to say really about Darktide and the new Starship Troopers Extermination update. Both of these co-op games are absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, Darktide is not on PS5, but it is on Xbox and PC if you want to check it out there. And Starship Troopers is coming over to PS5 and Xbox when it comes out of early access, which is absolutely awesome. I would encourage you to go try out either of these games. They are phenomenal, and I can just only hope that in the future we get something of this caliber in VR. How cool would that be? Anyway, thank you all for watching. A VR video is going to be coming out an hour after this one. As is usually the case, I put out one of these flat screen videos in addition to a VR video in the day because ultimately they don't perform as well as the VR stuff does, but I still really enjoy making them whenever I get the time to do so. So thank you all for watching. Stick around if you're into VR or flat screen gaming. We do both, but predominantly VR. Thank you to our patrons and YouTube members, Luke Bentley, Phil Irving, Hazit Mirza, Ace Gamer, Hippie Pickle, Jen007, A License to Chill, Sun WTF, Piosco, and Fat Controllers. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.